Hey guys, it's Katie. I've been getting a lot of questions lately about the alcohol deprivation effect, and I realized I didn't really have a good video on YouTube explaining it, so I pulled this from our course videos that we offer inside of the Alcohol Freedom program. I hope it helps, and to learn more about our courses and our program, check out the information in the description below. Today I want to talk about the alcohol deprivation effect and what this phenomenon is and why it's so important for people to understand who are working to change their relationship with alcohol. So I love the alcohol deprivation effect because it really gives an explanation, a scientifically proven explanation as to why it is abstinence doesn't always work for the majority of people who are trying to drink less or quit drinking. And the reason for that is, and what has been proven with the alcohol deprivation effect, and this was proven in the late 60s, so this is something that we've known for quite a long time, is that essentially when someone is dependent on a substance, when someone has alcohol use disorder and the alcohol is abruptly removed, what happens is it causes a deprivation effect, hence the term alcohol deprivation effect. And so when that happens, when a person is dependent upon something and they become deprived of it, what the data and the science shows is that it actually increases their motivation for that substance or their craving for it. And so if someone has alcohol use disorder and all of a sudden alcohol is removed out of their life, like with many abstinence-based programs out there that require abstinence as a first step toward treatment, what actually happens for most people is they begin to experience this alcohol deprivation effect. And when that starts to set in and it gradually intensifies the longer that they are deprived of the substance, what happens, as I said, their motivation for that substance increases and their craving for it increases. And craving is the thing that most often causes people to relapse on alcohol. And so when I first learned about the alcohol deprivation effect, when I was getting started on TSM, I was so excited because it gave me an answer as to why it was that quitting cold turkey never worked for me. Even though I tried it dozens of times and logically I would be so committed, I was, this was going to be the time it was going to work. I was going to do it. And I did that so many times. And I'm sure there are people watching who've been in that same place. But it gave me this understanding, this scientifically proven reason as to why it was that I could never stick to abstinence long term. And it's because I was experiencing the alcohol deprivation effect, because my craving for alcohol was increasing the longer I was deprived of it. And this is explained really well in Dr. Escapa's book, The Cure for Alcoholism. This book is all about the Sinclair Method, so if you don't have a copy, definitely grab one because it just explains the science behind this method. And so what he found in his studies with alcohol deprivation effect, it was done on rats, of course, but this has been since proven with humans as well, is that if these rats that were used to drinking alcohol were then deprived of alcohol for a period of time, and then alcohol was reintroduced to these rats, what would happen is they would go back to the alcohol and binge on it. They would binge on it at a rate up to 15 times more than what they were drinking at their levels before they were deprived of it. And eventually, once the rats had a binge episode of the drinking, their drinking levels would level back out to what they were before the deprivation effect set in. But this just really explains why so many people, myself included, can go, weeks, months, or even years without drinking. But they're kind of always fighting that craving. And once they finally do relapse, if they do, they tend to binge and kind of have as much as they possibly can because their body feels like it has been deprived of it. And so this is where the Sinclair Method is such an amazing treatment because it does not trigger the alcohol deprivation effect. And in fact, understanding the alcohol deprivation effect is what caused Dr. David Sinclair to really uncover the Sinclair Method in a way for people to overcome alcohol use disorder that didn't cause that deprivation. So the Sinclair Method, it's such a much more gentle way to go about overcoming alcohol use disorder than just abstinence alone. And I recognize abstinence works for a lot of people, but there's a lot of people it doesn't work for. And so with the Sinclair Method, it does give a person that option to continue to drink without causing themselves to become deprived of something that they're dependent upon, but then slowly over time kind of unwinding those neural pathways in the brain that have been driving the alcohol use disorder to begin with. So I just wanted to explain this because I think, for many of us who struggle with alcohol, there can be so much shame and guilt associated with, why can't I do it? Because on a logical level, we know we need to stop, or we know we need to reduce. We know how it's hurting our health or our lives or the people we love. But we have such a hard time doing so in a lot of cases. And again, it goes back to that alcohol deprivation effect. And so the Sinclair Method is just an awesome way to overcome that and not feel, the shame or the regret or the challenge around, what comes with trying to quit when you're just going cold turkey, because that abstinence only type of mindset actually could, increase the craving and increase the motivation to drink and ultimately drive relapse. That is what is the primary cause of relapse, is that craving for it. And then just a certain environment or trigger kind of sets it off. I know I've seen people who've done abstinence-based programs and they'll comment and say, I haven't had a drink in 7 years, but I still really want one, or, I fight that craving every day. And the Sinclair Method really fixes that. It doesn't cause someone to experience that alcohol deprivation effect, but gets to the root of the issue and kind of undoes that, so there's no risk of alcohol deprivation effect. But for me, this just kind of blew my mind when I first learned about it and got on TSM, that there was an explanation behind why I was having all of these cravings, even though, I had gone days, weeks, or months without drinking. So I hope this was helpful at understanding the alcohol deprivation effect. Definitely, again, check out the book, The Cure for Alcoholism, as it does talk more in depth about the science behind it. Thank you.